Hey, it's Derek with Gold and Black Radio. The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list, from football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands. The most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Welcome into another edition of Gold and Black Radio, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. As football enters the bye week, we can thankfully shift our entire attention to basketball, where Purdue scored two big wins. One of them obvious, and I think the other one maybe not so much. We're going to bring on Brian Neubert to talk about both of those and the undefeated Boilers in just a few minutes. But first, a big thank you to our tremendous Gold and Black sponsors that make this show possible, including Purdue Federal Credit Union, a proud partner of Purdue Athletics, and the official credit card for Purdue fans, Boiler Up, East End Grill and Ripple & Company, two distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street, the perfect place for your next event. The Whitaker Inn, this Midwestern oasis, is perfect for relaxing staycation or a weekend getaway. Escape from the ordinary at the Whitaker Inn. Sand Valley Resort, ready for a winter getaway? Discover the stillness and beauty of Sand Valley. Our stunning 12,000-acre landscape is the perfect place to explore. Whether you're cross-country skiing, enjoying a quiet walk, or just relaxing by the fire. With thoughtfully designed accommodations and nourishing dining, Sand Valley is the place to reconnect with yourself and those you love. Find your winter retreat at sandvalley.com. And finally, the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research. The Purdue Institute for Cancer Research is a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Purdue brings together world-class Boilermaker scientists from across the university, conducting cutting-edge research that uncovers new ways to prevent, diagnose, and treat cancer. With your support, cancer research saves lives. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. Let's welcome on GoldandBlack.com columnist, basketball scribe Brian Neubert for our weekly chat here on Gold and Black Radio. And Brian, two nice wins for the Boilers. I guess all that panic about, I don't know, who the hell were they playing? Oakland or something? That feels like 2 months ago. I know that was a week ago. Was misplaced as Purdue got on track with a really great win. And let's start with that first one. Terrific back and forth game against Alabama. Really fun to watch. And for a third straight time, really, kind of one of those games that could have gone either way. And Purdue finds a way once again against the Crimson Tide. What stood out to you the most about that victory?
A lot of things. I think the first thing that comes to mind is kind of how Purdue wore Alabama down. I think that was part of this. I think that when you look at the way Purdue closed the game, getting every defensive rebound, you can't get every defensive rebound unless Alabama misses every shot. And, the game was tied with a minute and a half to go. And I think Alabama just ran out of gas. I think that was part of this. And, Purdue's depth and Purdue's newfound physicality, I think, takes a toll. And I think you're seeing a little bit of the undercurrent to this Purdue team that you saw with the team 2 years ago, where the foul column is suddenly back in your favor. The rebounding column in big games like this one is something you can kind of hang your hat on. I think the easy offense around the basket is something you can, again, kind of hang your hat on. People are having to shoot a lot of threes against Purdue, and that speaks to Purdue doing a decent enough job in what it wants to do defensively. You might eventually run into that game where somebody makes 25 threes on you. If Alabama had been able to do that, Alabama would have won the game, but it's a pretty big ask. Obviously at the end of the game, Alabama missed every shot it took, and I think that was part of the toll playing against Purdue takes on you. I think that the way this season's shaping up, it's almost a best case in terms of how the pieces are fitting together. What Oscar Clough has brought to this team has been almost best case scenario. You're seeing that in the rebounding column more than anything. And, Purdue's got a lot of different ways to beat you. It's kind of death by 1,000 cuts. And one of those cuts at Alabama was the battle of attrition that has, long been a hallmark of Purdue basketball. And I think that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. I think I just mentioned like 25 different things, but, Braden Smith taking absolute command of that game is what you expect from Braden Smith. That doesn't mean it's not as impressive as it always is when he does it. But, Trey Kaufman-Renn, too, the last two games playing like not just an All-American, but playing like a National Player of the Year type of guy. That was his first game of the season that counted. And the way he's rebounding, he is rebounding with a Caleb Swanigan sort of presence to him. And I think part of that is because he's playing next to traditional size again, and again, kind of a best case scenario sort of deal. Um, really, really nice start for Purdue here, and you don't win at a place like Alabama this time of year without a lot of stuff working in your favor. And Purdue's just off to a great start here. Things are shaping up nicely.
Yeah, and I think likely just like the other two wins that they had over them, it's going to age well just because Alabama's been that kind of program. I mean, they're just really good, and you expect them to remain really good, and that being a true road win as well certainly helps the case. We've discussed the senior trio and Coffin Wren and Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer a ton, and we talked last week about the difference that Oscar Clough has already made, but how important is it too, Brian, for these role players for Purdue to consistently produce in their lanes like they've seemingly largely been able to do?
Really important. I never know how to phrase this, but when you look at the calculus of how Purdue can really, really turn the screws on people this year, I always compare it to 2019 when you had Ryan Klein and Carson Edwards and everybody else around them just kind of hoarded possessions, didn't need a lot of shots, didn't need a lot of touches, took care of a lot of the defensive stuff, things like that. Kind of allowed those two guys to kind of do their thing. And when you look at Oscar Clough and when you look at C.J. Cox, Jakari Harris, Daniel Jacobson, kind of on down the line, the rebounding you're getting from them, the defense you're getting from them, the rim protection you're getting from them, the fact that they're finishing around the rim at a level Purdue could not last season. That's opening up a lot of new avenues for scoring that Purdue kind of frittered away last season. I think the rebounding piece of it is the most important part. The offensive rebounding is a huge piece of this because that's more possessions for Braden Smith to do his thing, for Trey Kaufman to do his thing, for Purdue to shoot threes, things like that. You don't have to pass those guys the ball to be productive, and they're going to draw fouls that you are not really baking into your play calling, your offensive design, things like that, just because you have to wrestle with those guys. And Oscar Clough is making Trey Kaufman better. Oscar Clough is making Braden Smith better. They're all making Fletcher Lawyer better because the more rebounds you get, the more kick out threes there are off offensive rebounds and such. And Oscar Clough is going to be there to clean up a lot of offensive rebounds this year, get a lot of putbacks. And when you're just stealing points on a team that's already really, really hard to stop from an offensive perspective, it just almost makes for an unbeatable type of formula. That's not to say Purdue's not going to lose games this year. They're going to lose games, but there are things where it takes you from, kind of suffocating when trying to stop Purdue from scoring to flat out drowning when they're just taking points away from you when you've stopped them. And I think the complementary component of this roster right now is damn near best case scenario.
Yeah, it's only been 4 games, but are you confident that I mean is that it? Like rebounding's fixed and the front line rotation is fixed now simply because of Clough and then having a healthy Jacobson and then you're able to shift Kaufman right over and bada bing, bada boom. I mean, I'm almost scared to think that it's that easy, but are you confident that they have found a long-term fix here? Like this is just going to continue. Certainly Oscar Clough sometimes will have bad games. Kaufman will have, that stuff happens over the course of the season, but largely did Matt Painter basically fix those things in the offseason and we're seeing the fruits of it right now?
Yes. From last season, I think all your problems are fixed. I mean, that doesn't mean Purdue's going to win every game the way they won the Alabama and Akron games, but I think that exactly what you needed to fix all of last year's problems, you're seeing right now. What you needed last year, more than anything, was size, any size. Oscar Clough would have been perfect. Daniel Jacobson would have been helpful. He still would have been a true freshman playing in the Big Ten. But the combination of those two guys is the absolute final piece of what Purdue needed. And you're seeing that right now. You have high percentage offense where you couldn't cash in on high percentage offense last year because the guys you had out there couldn't finish at the rim. You have rim protection. You have defensive rebounding. That stuff is going to lead to transition opportunities offensively. You have Trey Kaufman completely unburdened by the fact that he doesn't have to wrestle with Vladislav Golden anymore, where his best efforts last season, like he is playing harder than anyone right now, probably in college basketball. He could have done that last year. You might not even noticed because all it would have done was even the playing field against guys who were 3 inches taller than him and 60 pounds heavier than him. Now, Oscar Clough has fallen on that grenade for Purdue and creating space and creating opportunities for Trey Kaufman for that effort he's giving to not just not blend in, but to, change games, to stand out. And the complementary piece of this, just you can't really overstate. The rim protection part of it is enormous. Purdue had nothing defensively on the interior last year, and that really poured salt on an open wound of dribble containment. It's much better now. You have a lot of layers now to your ball screen offense because you have that size at the rim to finish. I don't think that this is just an early season sugar rush either, because I think height doesn't change. Height is always height. Like Daniel Jacobson's not going to just wake up tomorrow morning and be 6'8". Oscar Clough is not going to just decide to stop playing hard, and he's not going to stop being 260 pounds. Effort and physicality are normally pretty consistent. That doesn't mean there's not going to be games where he doesn't get 15 rebounds, but you also don't necessarily need that every game. I just think there aren't really any reasons to believe this doesn't endure. If anything, there's reason to believe that Purdue can still get better because this whole stew is still kind of simmering, and the flavors are all still congealing. God, that's horrible what I just said. This is still the discovery process of this season too. That's what the first few games of every year are, and role definition is continuing to crystallize, and I think it's way ahead of where it normally would be because of the natural wiring of these guys. I think I'm using Oscar Clough to put a face on this, but all that dude wants to do is rebound and dunk, and that's all you need him to do.
Yep.
And for a guy to be satisfied in a role where he can be elite like that, it's just the best case scenario. He's an egoless grinder, and that's an absolutely perfect fit for what Purdue needed. Omar Meyer. When we talk about role definition, I think this guy is becoming one of the really neat stories of this early season for Purdue. This guy's going to be an NBA prospect. This guy's a professional guard, and he's coming in. He's a freshman. He doesn't look like a freshman. He doesn't play like a freshman, but he is still a freshman. American college basketball is very different than the professional game overseas. American college basketball at Purdue is very different than American college basketball in general. He has come in. This is a guy who could be looking ahead to his future beyond Purdue. Could be at a lot of different places being the guy right now. And he's coming off the bench. He's playing, minutes that are going to ebb and flow. And he's really guarding. And he seems like the happiest guy when Purdue wins than anyone. And that's a really neat story because what Purdue's been all about from a personality perspective through these great teams they've had has been unselfishness. It's been, Mason Gill is coming off the bench and being happy as a clam to be winning at the level they were winning at. Trey Kaufman waiting his turn for Zach Edey to finally cycle out of the program so he can be a star. and things like that. Fletcher Lawyer accepting a secondary role, whereas he could be playing a primary role a lot of different places. Winning has been enough for Purdue through some of these great teams they've had, and right now, Omar Meyer is kind of the face of that. He's happy as hell coming off the bench. He's happy as hell to be at Purdue. He's appreciative of Purdue. That's a rare deal for a guy who, is on a schedule in terms of the NBA. So that is a really neat story, and really something that is essential to make a team like this work, because Purdue's got a lot of guys.
Yeah, and that's those are all flavors that are still congealing as of right now, as we know. still all coming together. Later this week, it'll be a MTE, as the kids say, for the Boilers as they head to the Bahamas to face a struggling Memphis team. They've already lost 2 games, and then they would get either Texas Tech or Wake Forest. As many know, Purdue has performed, very well in these events. In fact, they've won 4 straight dating back to 2020. I went back and looked, Brian, because I was like, when was the last time they lost one of these? And it was the Space Coast Challenge, and they lost to Clemson. I have no memory of that game whatsoever. Zach Edey came off the bench to lead Purdue in scoring. He scored 17.
That was COVID.
Yeah, it was the COVID year coming out of that.
Yeah, they beat Liberty, and then I think they lost to Clemson.
See, okay, you remember it better than I do.
Yeah, the second game of that, if I recall correctly, Eric Hunter was hurt. Jaden Ivey had just discovered a stress reaction in his foot, so he missed that game. Purdue didn't have guards in that second game, if I recall correctly. I don't know. I was sitting in the chair right behind me watching on TV because it was COVID. I could have gone, but I figured I was going to get on a plane, land in Florida, and then find out some manager tested positive, and
send everybody home.
The whole tournament was off, so I'd be stuck in Florida during COVID with no way to get home. So I didn't go.
Not a fun time for anybody. I know back then. It feels like it was 100 years ago now. But 4 straight wins since then. They went out to Oregon and won that Phil Knight deal. They went to Springfield, Hartford, and won the Hall of Fame. They won Maui in 23, and then they went out to San Diego and won last year as well. But in this event, what are you looking to see from them? And just overall, do you like packing the bags and going to some random ballroom in a tropical location like this?
It's all work for me. I think people. It's not about me, but just in case people think I'm going to these things and sitting on the beach, it's all work. But
sure,
it is cool to relocate somewhere sometimes for a couple of days and really be able to dive into what you're doing work-wise. If there are tropical birds outside your window, if you can see the water, cool. It's great. But it is kind of neat. Like when you go to the NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament, whatever it is, have kind of like a home base for a few days. These things aren't as long as they used to be because the whole landscape is moving away from 3-game MTEs versus 2-game MTEs because coaches don't want to do 3-game events anymore. Why, I don't know. I think the scheduling flexibility that it kind of takes away is part of it. I think a lot of coaches don't want to lose either, and I think they understand that it's really hard to win a 3-game MTE. Purdue's done so a couple times over the years. The PK85 was extraordinary for them. The Maui the following year or 2 years later was extraordinary. San Diego last year was just 2 games. This will only be 2 games, but at least one really good game. I don't know what to expect from Memphis. If I were Memphis, I'd be horrified of this Purdue team right now. But Memphis has bigger fish to fry after they just lost at home to a bad UNLV team. So I think that Purdue's been pretty good about being all business at these things, and there have been some guys on this team who have really been looking forward to that time they get on the beach. And it hasn't distracted them from, going and taking care of business. They've been really good in this, and I think these things help you when you get into tournament mode, where you have to turn around, where you can win a game on Wednesday, and then you have to turn around Wednesday night and prepare for a big game on Thursday. I think that's really helped Purdue. in terms of conference play, but also the postseason. And, I think if Purdue gets Texas Tech, that would be a really, really good game and another opportunity for a really, really good win for Purdue. It would be a lot of fun, and it would be really good for college basketball to see Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman, and JT Toppin on the same floor.
Yeah, for sure. That's the game that people want to see, no doubt. I know there isn't much to say about football right now, but I did want to fit in one football question because you wrote about this fact, and it kind of stuck with me when I was reading it. That there's really sort of a chance here that Barry Odom's just going to have to kind of do this all over again. Maybe not to the scope that he did after the coaching change last year, but with the roster makeover and all of these things that are left unresolved for Purdue football. I mean, Brian, I'm disappointed in 2-10, right? But to me, this isn't a lost season because of the record. Even if they had beaten Minnesota and Rutgers, they still don't seemingly have a quarterback, and they don't seemingly have a lot of long-term solutions on the roster here. I mean, I understand that addition and subtraction is now the new norm in college football, but was this a lost season for Purdue? Not because they didn't win necessarily, but more so because they just seemingly left a lot of things unsolved for next year too, whereas this could have been a year that they at least, hey, let's figure some of this out. And then in 2026, we can kind of continue the ball sort of rolling up the mountain, if you will.
I think there's some sophomores on this team, Purdue can build around for the long term. Had you beaten Rutgers and Minnesota, I think you could have really said, hey, this is moving in a pretty good direction. I still think Barry Odom's a good coach. I think he's the right guy for this job. It is disappointing, from an objective perspective for Purdue to not really have anything to show for it. And when I say not having anything to show for it, I don't just mean wins, but I mean whatever certainty you would have loved to have come out of the season with. When I say certainty, I mean, are you sure you got the right staff here in terms of some of the people Barry Odom surrounded himself with? You'd love to have had some stability at quarterback. You'd love to be exiting this year knowing, hey, Ryan Brown is our guy. We're going to completely commit to this guy. Yeah. Malachi Singleton is our guy. We're going to completely commit to this guy. And we're going to enter the offseason with our quarterback picked out. We're not going to go through let's see how Tuesday's spring practice goes before we, say anything about the quarterbacks. I thought it was a bit of a red flag back in training camp. And I'm not out there every day the way Tom and Dub are. So I'm just kind of observing things from afar. But I thought it was a red flag when it took Purdue forever to name a quarterback. And they don't owe us anything in terms of telling us who's going to be the quarterback. But if things were generally that close that you couldn't come out and say publicly until the week of the game, basically, this guy's our quarterback, that means there were some real questions kind of coming into the very week of the first game. And that's a spot where you'd love to go into an off season with your guy picked out, to let that guy have an off season, sort of establishing himself as a leader, to really, really be working with him to improve, to really start crafting your offense around what that guy does well, as opposed to trying to retrofit the guy you pick into what you want to do offensively. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I think that you would have loved to have gotten this to a place where you're going to be turning over guys every single year. That's Purdue could have won 6 games this year, and they still would be looking for 20 transfers. You just got to get that number down every year. What you can't be doing is doing the 50 newcomers every year the way you did it this year. You want to get that number from whatever it was this year, 80. Was it 80?
Yeah, it was 81 or something, I think.
You need to get that number from 81. I guess I'm out of sequence here. 81 to 60 to 30 to 20, and then level it off. Get some stability. Get some guys who are going to be there year after year, who you can count on, who you can really develop, who can become leaders in your program, who can provide some continuity and some stability in your program, things like that. This is all uncharted waters these days in terms of how you build programs in modern college football. And it's completely exacerbated when you change coaches, because you got to get a new roster, and you get a new roster full of one-year guys, and then you got to replace all the one-year guys, right? And then you're still recruiting high school guys to develop behind the transfers, but then you got to keep them too while developing them. It's just a really, really odd time, but you got to get some stability here, and I think going 2-10, I think we can assume that that's going to be the case. Really doesn't afford you a whole lot of stability, because clearly there are areas where you're going to have to upgrade, and there are some areas where you're going to have to do some landscaping in terms of not retaining some of the guys that aren't part of the solution. And you've had a year now to determine who is not part of the solution. So it is going to be an interesting offseason. The wrong kind of interesting, though.
Yeah, that's fair. And I didn't mean that necessarily as a total knock on Barry Odom, because I think he sounds like a guy that at least has some semblance of idea what he signed up for, and that he wants to stick it out and grind it out and find a way here. And so that makes me confident. It's just it's hard to sell. It's certainly hard to sell 2-10 with no quarterback. And kind of going into an offseason where you're going to have to replace a lot of these guys at the impact positions. But you can follow Brian at Brian Neubert on X, get his thoughts, videos, writings, and more by becoming a goldenblack.com subscriber as well. Do that today if you're not already. Thanks, Brian, and enjoy it down there in the trip, and we will talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Derek.
That's Brian Neubert, goldenblack.com columnist, basketball knower, basketball scribe, and that's our show. Golden Black Radio has been brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Academy Sports and Outdoors, as well as Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit card for Purdue fans. East End Grill and Ripple and Company, two distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street in Lafayette. The Whitaker Inn for unparalleled comfort and cuisine. Visit the Whitaker Inn. By Sand Valley Resort, with thoughtfully designed accommodations and nourishing dining. Sand Valley is the place to reconnect with yourself and those you love. Find your winter retreat today at sandvalley.com. And the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research, which has a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And, of course, you can leave a 5-star review and comment on your favorite podcast platform. We would really appreciate it. Be sure to enable alerts as we upload new content just about every day. And while you're at it, you can subscribe if you're not already. goldenblack.com. Join the biggest Purdue community on the internet. Use promo code PU1 at checkout to get 2 months of your monthly subscription for just $1. That's promo code PU1 at goldenblack.com. First 2 months of your monthly subscription to goldenblack.com, to Knucklehead Central, to Tom, to Brian, to Dub, to Alan, to Jordan, to Carm, to everybody here on the Golden Black team. Just $1. Best value possible. No Friday show as we have the second bye week, so we will be back with you next Tuesday. So we'll recap the happenings in the Bahamas. Look forward, if you want to call it looking forward, to the bucket game, and talk Purdue IU football with Tom and Dub as they come back on Golden Black Radio next week. We'll also, of course, bring Brian back on too, so we'll have a final crossover show where we talk some football, we talk some men's hoops, and we are excited to see you the next time that we get together next week. But until then, I'm Derek Schultz. Have a great day and have a great week. This has been Gold and Black Radio here on goldenblack.com. As you all know by now, Golden Black Radio has also teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet. Offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 and over only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that can expire in 7 days. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.